All right, it is SNL. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you straight from the practice field to your screen. Normally they're off on Tuesday, but they were not today because, of course, they play on Saturday. Subscribe on all podcast platforms from Spotify to Apple, whatever. Subscribe to the new SNL channel, which is absolutely popping. Patrick Mahomes, let's just get right into this. We'll talk about what's going on with the Texans, but I want to kind of focus on the history, the localized Mahomes connection, if you will, with the Houston Texans. But before we go back in time, we got some big news. That high ankle sprain with Patrick Mahomes, apparently he is just the god of healing because he was a full participant today for the Kansas City Chiefs in practice. This according to Adam Schefter.
Yeah, I mean, this according to the report that comes out that gets sent out by the Kansas City Chiefs. Not only they have Mahomes there, but just about all the other important guys that were dinged up were there, full participant. Now, it's a lighter practice, and it's going to be a lighter practice tomorrow, but practicing and certainly a full participant is much more than week to week, which is what Ian Rappaport said earlier this week. So Patrick Mahomes, clearly not as injured as it appeared he was, and as it was reported that he was. Mahomes looks like he is very much on track to play. I know Andy Reid said, we're going to try him out and then kind of see this weekend. I mean, full participant. Mahomes talked like he was going to be able to play, and it seems like he's going to be able to play now.
Well, he didn't have an high ankle sprain then. I mean, that's right. The bottom line. He didn't have, and that was it's funny because now the betting line, which was -1 yesterday, and some people might have jumped on that in anticipation, it has now shifted to 3. So we've seen a 4-point shift based on a untrue story that he had a high ankle sprain. Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that his ankle's hurt. I'm not saying he's faking. I'm just saying he's not a full participant 2 days after suffering a high ankle sprain. So either there was a misdiagnosis, either there's like something, but a high ankle sprain, the guy's not on the field 2 days later. So it's just not, it's not true.
It's a lie.
He had a high ankle sprain. It's a total lie, or
it's a lie.
Yeah, it's not true. And that was what was so confusing about the Rappaport report that we talked about in the morning edition of SNL, which you can hear every morning at 9 a.m., 4 o'clock on Fridays, after the final injury report drops, assuming that it's an honest one and they're not the Chiefs. But Rappaport said there was good news for the Chiefs, and then he said that Patrick Mahomes had a high ankle sprain, but then he said he was ready to go, and that's where I was like, where's the good news there? Well, The good news is he doesn't have a high ankle sprain. If he had a high ankle sprain, he would not be playing.
Yeah, or there'd be at the very best a limited designation with like, hey, we gave it a shot, but man, just an absolute total lie about the ankle. Like, just they should be fined for this. Like, I know that they didn't lie on the injury report because this is just the first one.
A lot of people lost money on this potentially betting on the Texans. Now, I didn't want to touch that.
They should fine the Kansas City Chiefs, and if you wagered on the Texans, you should send them a letter and say, I wagered this much, and they should give you your money back.
Yeah,
this is you know what? They want to be the Patriots so bad, they're starting to resort to lying about the injury report, which is exactly what the Patriots did for 20 years with Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think Harrison Butker sent his wife to make a bet on the Chiefs yesterday. He said, "Go make me a bet. Get out of the kitchen and go make me a bet." He's probably making money off of this.
Does he let her out of the house?
Shout out to Harrison Butker. So Mahomes is a full participant. We know that Joe Mixon wasn't doing anything today at Texans practice. He's kind of on the side. They let him speak to the media, which is typically my grasp of, well, he's going to play. But I almost feel like the Texans are so weird that I could almost see them sending him there as like some sort of like default. I don't want Mixon forcing the issue.
So he didn't warm up with everybody. Now, the Texans had a 30-minute practice today, 30-ish minute.
Very light
practice today. He did not warm up. He worked on the side with running backs coach Danny Barrett.
He's kicking it with Caserio during stretching.
And he's officially listed as a limited participant and rest. And then when Mixon talked in the locker room, he said, I'm going to be there for my teammates. But he didn't, like, when he was asked, are you playing? He didn't say, I'm playing. He said, I'm going to be there for my teammates.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to do the rehab this week and see how the rehab goes.
Yeah.
And it did not, like, when Joe Mixon wants to tell you something, Joe Mixon tells you something.
Yes.
And so if he was a go, which I don't believe he is, he would have said, I'm playing. But to say, I'm going to be there for my teammates, I mean, that's code for, I'll be on the sideline. I'll have a heavy-ass jacket on and a sweatshirt, but I ain't playing. So that's how I read it.
And I think we're kind of reading between the lines, because even D'Amico today, he was asked by JA, shout out to Jonathan Alexander, Houston Chronicle. He was like, what's your strategy? Basically, like the rest versus stuff. And D'Amico, some people might have taken it as he was saying he was playing, that they were playing all the way. You remember exactly what he said, right?
He said they're just going to continue to work to improve.
He said, when you strap it up, you got to be ready to play. He didn't say anything about not strapping it up. He said, when you strap it up, you got to be ready to play. I think rest is the top priority for this squad. I think it should be. I still think you can compete with the Chiefs. The Chiefs aren't a blow teams out type of squad. And we'll see what happens. I mean, the ankle's definitely hurt. I'm not sitting here saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't hurt. All I'm saying is that, and it could linger all season long, but he didn't have a high ankle sprain. So let's just get that out of the way. We'll see what happens with Mixon. Another interesting small nugget. We won't spend too much time on it, but Davis Mills wasn't there either. No one noticed, but I noticed Davis Mills was not there. I don't know what's going on with him.
I hope that's not a storyline that ever needs to be worried about.
No, I know, but I mean, wasn't there.
Are we going to see Keaton Slovis after the Texans get up big in Kansas City?
Oh, my God. Keaton Slovis.
Keaton Slovis, former USC and Pitt and
USC,
BYU.
Highly recruited.
Yep.
Supposed to be one of the next big things. I kind of wanted to look at the connection between the Texans and Chiefs, and specifically Patrick Mahomes. And it's funny because we're talking about Patrick Mahomes like as if he is appropriately so one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But it's been a short time, like as far as years. It all started in 2017. Really, he became the full-time starter in 2018. But if you look at just everything that's happened with the Texans and the connection, it's almost like 3 decades worth of stuff when it comes to the connection. So I just kind of want to localize it and just take a little trip back memory lane, and just relive like the localized Mahomes connection. And in order to do that, we're going to have to start in April of 2017. It was Deshaun Watson. It was Patrick Mahomes. Those were the quarterbacks that we were talking about the most. Now, I know Bill O'Brien leaked out that he liked Patrick Mahomes
after the fact.
And then during all that, when it looked like Watson was on the same level, Rick Smith was saying that he won it. Like, it was just a bunch of stuff. But there was a big discussion about Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. And quite frankly, I know this because I talked to a lot of people that work in Kansas City. There was kind of some disappointment that they went with Mahomes over Watson when the Chiefs made their pick. And initially, there was belief that Watson was the better guy. Now, the Chiefs ended up taking Mahomes. The Texans ended up trading up and getting Deshaun Watson. And in 2017, it was really an interesting year when it comes to the connection between who the Texans ended up taking and Mahomes, who went shortly before, because you saw Deshaun Watson. He took over as the starter in the second half of the first game of the season against the Jacksonville Jags. Should have been starting the whole time. Remember Jalen Ramsey saying, "Yeah, Deshaun should have been in there the whole game." Blah blah blah. I think they lost the game 21-7, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of the dome. Jags had 10 sacks, and he threw a touchdown pass to Nuke to cut it to 21-7. But during that season, the Chiefs and Texans actually played each other. And if there was ever talk in Kansas City about we should have taken this guy instead of Mahomes, it actually kind of intensified after that game because it was a very memorable game. It was a primetime game. Whitney Merciless was lost for the season. And then J.J. Watt was lost for the season. And I think they had like a blimp follow him to the hospital. There was like a real dramatic overhead shot. And Alex Smith was actually starting. He had 3 touchdown passes. The Chiefs ended up winning the game. It was pretty in hand, but the Texans made it close at the end. But in that game, Deshaun Watson had 5 touchdown passes.
Yep.
And that was kind of the moment where Texans fans and Chiefs fans were kind of unified in, man, this is going to be the guy out of that 2017 draft. And Alex Smith actually went on to win a playoff game. And after the season, we got a little taste of Mahomes at the end, but we had no idea. Deshaun ended up tearing his ACL. He was coming back in 2018, but the stock was much higher when it came to public approval of Deshaun Watson than Patrick Mahomes after the 2017 season.
No doubt. And Mahomes has one game and didn't even throw a touchdown in 2017. So there was a lot of questions on, are they going to be ready to move to this guy and what's it going to look like for Kansas City? Well, it ended up looking pretty good. Yeah.
So then we go to 2018 and Mahomes kind of takes over the league, but Texans go 11-5. Deshaun Watson looks pretty good. The season ends with a 21-7 L to the Colts, but they're still being put kind of in the same class, although Mahomes obviously reached the ultimate goal, but there was still talk like, well, this was kind of where the back end discussion started, where locally it was, well, Mahomes is just set up better with Andy Reid and all the weapons. They got Kelsey. They got this dude who punched his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach and slid to the 5th round. That's really, really fast. The weapons are better. They have the offensive mind. And the Chiefs, while they were doing good, there was still like a real sense of pride around here when it came to Deshaun Watson, and you were happy having your guy in Deshaun.
Yeah. There was still like a lot of optimism and hope for what the team could be around Watson.
So then we go to the 2019 season, and we remember it as 24-0. But this was actually where we got the first look at Deshaun Watson versus Patrick Mahomes. And the Texans actually went on the road, and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And they clinched it on a 4th and 2 Deshaun Watson slant to DeAndre Hopkins that moved the chains. And this was kind of the signature win that year where you beat the favorite, and there's talk about on national shows, even not just locally, that Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, these guys are going to be going at it forever. This is going to be the marquee quarterback matchup, Deshaun versus Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be it. And I'll be damned if in the divisional round, with an opportunity to win the game and host the old Oilers, the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs, in the AFC Championship game where you've never been, the Texans go up 24-0. Under the radar, Deshaun really wasn't that good in this game, by the way. He had the early touchdown pass to Kenny Stills, which was the first touchdown of the game. And the offense kind of melted down. Bill O'Brien got nervous. He wet his pants. He didn't have a play. And then he had the fake punt. But the Chiefs just come back and they completely steamroll the Texans. And at that point, you're still thinking, man, these two guys are going to go at it for a long, long time. This is going to be a rivalry. But that's pretty much the peak of this whole thing. And as much as from 17 to 19, there was a lot going on, and you were thinking these guys are at the end, came tumbling down shortly after that.
Yeah, that's an understatement. You got a couple of. I mean, they probably should have left Bill O'Brien on the tarmac in Kansas City. They didn't, and a few months later, he's in charge of the team. They're making trades, weird signings. And it doesn't look good for the Houston Texans heading into that 2020 season.
So then we go to 2020, and you're opening the season against the Chiefs. It's kind of awkward. It's the COVID year. This was the Clyde Edwards-Helaire game. It might have been the best game of his damn career, if we're being honest. Like, it looked like, holy crap, who did they get in the first round? But the Chiefs smack around the Texans. The Texans go 0-4. The Bill O'Brien era ends. And then the Texans just go into complete hell as the Kansas City Chiefs kind of sit on the clouds of heaven. And that's the last time that we would see Deshaun and Mahomes on the field in the Chiefs. And it's really the last time, and we'll get to the present, but it's the last time that you even entertain the possibility of, okay, we could maybe get on the same level as this squad in the Deshaun Watson era.
At the end of the first quarter, it looked like, oh man, the Houston Texans, They might actually have something here. David Johnson had scored a touchdown. Houston's up 7-0. That was about the last time football was fun for the Houston Texans for a few years.
Then we go to the 2022 season. This was after a really rough 2021 season, the David Coley era. Who could forget it?
Era or era?
Whatever the hell it was. What did I call it?
Well, it could be both. It could be the era or the error.
I didn't. He gave him an opportunity. No one else wanted the job. So we go to 2022. Davis Mills gets the start against the Chiefs, and I'll bring up why this is important and why this matters right now. But in this game, the Texans actually, I think they were an 18-point dog heading into it, and they ended up being within a possession. It was the walk-off touchdown by the Kansas City Chiefs. And in this game, Titus Howard randomly started at guard. I don't know if y'all remember this, but Charlie Heck, for some reason, the Texans could not quit Charlie Heck. It was the Brokeback Mountain of the Nick Caserio era. They could not quit Charlie Heck. I wish I knew how to quit you. They could not. They gave him a random-ass start at tackle with his dad, the opposing offensive line coach. They moved Titus Howard to guard, and this was actually the best performance that Titus Howard ever had at guard because he went against Chris Jones. I brought up the game, and you dug up the stats for me, and I tweeted them out at Landry Locker. Titus Howard on that December 18th, 2022 game, which is 2 years ago tomorrow. God, a lot has happened in 2 years. My God. He had a 77.9 PFF pass blocking grade. He allowed just one hurry and a pressure, and it was Chris Jones's lowest PFF pass rush grade all season long. So Titus Howard, a lot of questions about if he's going to hold up against Chris Jones. I think that's still fair. I think that's still fair. But there is an example, and the best example of him playing guard against Chris Jones, which took place on December 18, 2022.
It's, just one of the more random, like one-off temporary situations that worked for a day that we've seen. That was also a very, that was a game where they beat up Patrick Mahomes. They were hitting him probably a little late and after the whistle. And I can remember where I was sitting in the press box, all the Chiefs higher ups, Brett Veach and their VP and president and all this other stuff, they all sat in the press box down below me, and they were slamming things and yelling every time Mahomes got hit.
Brett
They were
Veach
yes. It's
Damn.
Come on.
When you see, there's nothing better in the press box. There's a lot of cool things in the press box. I like sitting with you, Cap, and Wex and just chopping up. But there's also some bad things about the press box, like the loud fake laugh that won't stop and some other stuff, just being around too many media types. But there's nothing better than going to the buffet line and just seeing the random ass GM right there in the line.
Yeah,
it's always so funny.
It was it was funny too because they, the Texans have snacks and stuff. Their snack cups were falling over and rattling, and jelly beans were going everywhere because Veach was. They're Mahomes is getting hit late. And nobody's throwing a flag, and Veach is what's going on here? It was great.
Didn't you run into a Chief scout this week at the in the press box? Wasn't there a little something going on there?
This was one of the strangest things that I've ever heard in the press box. So the row where Landry, Texans Cap, and I all sit, at the end of that row is where they put the scouts that come in for the opposing teams. And one year, I used to sit down there. One year I sat next to a Buffalo scout and a Ravens scout. It was the year there was the blizzard in Buffalo. And the Buffalo guy's yeah, I'm here for a few days. I can't get the Buffalo. But they sent the scouts down there, and there was a Chiefs scout that got there early. And I guess he knew a reporter that was in town covering for the Dolphins. I didn't recognize her. And they were just talking, and he was not quiet about, I told Brett Veach before the season, our offensive tackles aren't any good. And I told him in training camp, they aren't any good. We got to do something.
Sure you did, buddy. Sure you did, buddy.
And then it was, what else was it? It was Andy Reid's in bad health. He only takes the elevator everywhere.
Dude, he's been doing that for probably 10 years. You think Andy Reid's taking the stairs?
And I don't remember the other one, but he was just
Laying it all out, huh?
He was letting it fly. And I don't know if he was trying to kind of be like,
show off, like the guy at the airport, like the guy at the airport that's on the phone. Hey, wait, 200,000? No, tell him I said 300,000 or else. Like real loud. This guy.
Hey, me and Veach. Like, oh, okay, sure, pal, sure.
So that was all the pre-Stroud action that we just got through from 2017 draft to pre-Stroud, Stroud. And now we have CJ Stroud versus Mahomes, Volume 1 this Saturday. And it's going to be interesting because CJ Stroud was asked if this is a measuring stick. He said he looks at every game as a measuring stick game. D'Amico Ryans kind of downplayed it, but make no mistake about it. You're going to a place where a lot of people have seen ghosts. You're going to a place where you want to get on that level. And it'll be interesting. Deshaun Watson passed his test the first time that he was in this situation. They went on the road. They won the game. That was their signature dub of 19. Now, not counting the Buffalo win in the wild card round, of course. But this is CJ Stroud's first test, and we'll see how it looks. And it looks like he will be facing a fake high ankle sprain, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
maybe.
Mahomes gonna go do some WWE in the offseason, faking an injury, actually being able to go out there and go. Here's my big thing about Mahomes. If you think he's Brady, and he's the QB, and you got to deal with him for the 2 decades. Well, Brady won 7. Okay, that leaves you 13 other ones. Let's just say Mahomes is winning 7 and 20. That leaves you 13 other championships. So, which guy, to kind of parallel it, Brady had Manning, Brady had Flacco, Brady had Roethlisberger,
Rodgers, and
Russell Wilson, even guys that
2 Eli's.
Yeah, there were
Nick Foles. Even
the guys though that didn't get to the playoff level or the big playoffs, but were there for a long time and were still really good, like a Phillip Rivers. Like, you always try to wonder who's your guy gonna be. If he's Brady, like, everybody wants their guy to be Manning, the guy that's always compared and maybe plays a little different and things like that. Everybody wants their guy to be Manning or to be Roethlisberger because Big Ben got a couple of them. But I was trying to think about where's CJ rank in the pantheon of Mahomes villains, like what Mahomes has to go up against, like who he has to square off against. Like, I don't know yet because this is their first time matching up in CJ's second season. But 5, 6, 7 years from now, is he a guy that's constantly nipping at Mahomes' heels? Is he a guy that, goes on a run one year when Mahomes isn't there? Or Mahomes gets hurt for a year and CJ has a big year. I always wonder, where in sort of the gallery is CJ going to end up fitting? Because, I would think now, Mahomes is the guy, and then Lamar, Josh Allen are right there for
Lamar is kind of Peyton right now. I mean, because Peyton had the multiple MVPs and couldn't get over the hump. It's kind of what Lamar is right now.
Yeah. So then it's okay, is Allen going to turn into Peyton because he's going to add maybe some MVPs, and he's going against him, and it just never works out for him, in the playoff game. And who's Burrow? Is he Big Ben? It's always fun to kind of figure out from the parallels. Again, if you think Mahomes is going to be on that same Brady track, he ain't winning all of them. So can your guy get in there on the years where Mahomes isn't winning, where Allen, Lamar isn't winning? That's always kind of where you hope CJ Stroud ends up, is in one of those sections of that 2 decades.
You're talking if right now, I can't, we're getting way ahead of ourselves if we even shape our lips to say, Manning, even Rivers, or Manning, Rivers, it's just
I know it's early, but that's kind of what you hope from your guy.
But in this instance, like with CJ, like just for this year, like if he were able to sneak up on him, I think it would be kind of, it's Russell Wilson-y, where you have a really good defense, like early Russell Wilson-y, maybe early Big Ben type of vibe, like something like that. But I mean, Tom Brady got beat in playoff games too, you know, like there were plenty of times where they got beat in playoff games and you didn't necessarily win the Super Bowl. Like they lost to the Jets with Sanchez. Like they got beat in other instances. So that would be it. I don't think I'm ready. Like, I don't think CJ's had like a bad year. I just like, as far as like next year, we're not going to say CJ Stroud's an elite quarterback. He's going to have to have a larger body of work, and he's going to have to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
And I see there's some stuff, you know, Drew Brees is being mentioned. I mean, they were good, man. Like that was a really good squad. Maybe early Brees, although they're kind of setting it off.
They could. I feel like early Breeze, like they were, you know, even before Phillip Rivers took over, they could score they could score.
I want to say they lost to the Bears in the NFC Championship game. I think it might have been the year before they won it, if I'm not mistaken. Whenever Peyton got his.
Oh, you're going Saints Breeze. I was going even earlier. I was like, those Chargers teams were in the playoffs.
Well, that was Rivers. That was the Rivers. Rivers played with like a torn ACL. I remember that. And then I remember when the Patriots actually upset the Chargers, and they were doing the Sean Merriman dance in the middle, and LaDainian Tomlinson cried and said that Belichick was classless. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
He might be Big Ben.
Yeah, I mean Big Ben,
because Roethlisberger was not. He was not lighting it up early on. They were getting there on defense and having a lot of success because of the defense, and then he turned into like a force. Like Roethlisberger for a few years was just like, I mean, he was dialing it up.
King Leo says leaving out Cam is crazy. I think bringing Cam into the conversation is disrespectful to Cam Newton. I mean, that was the MVP of the league. They weren't really like a thorn in the side or anything like that for a while. That was kind of, I think it was almost like during the Patriots downtime, when Cam got in against the Broncos. I didn't even, you know, I'm not shaping my lips to say the previous mention. I'm not even mentioning Cam. CJ's not on what Cam was at that point. So I think it's kind of disrespectful to even bring Cam in to the combo.
That was Cam's 5th year in the league too. Like,
yeah,
like he'd been like, it's not like Cam Newton came in there and had the Lamar track where like it was right away really good, and had to play the first year and then was awesome going in the next year. Like you got to have like some steps and some building blocks to kind of figure out who he is.
Maybe he's Joe Burrow. There's another mention Johnny just brought up. Maybe he's year 2 Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Get hot at the right time. Figure it out. Make a run. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom.
I guess I sort of remember Burrow being like amazing that year, but I guess I don't remember exactly what the stats were.
Yeah, they were good. But nobody expected them to do that.
He was pretty sick. 70% completion percentage, 34-14.
Well, he still kind of is if you look at the numbers and you look beyond the bad defense. He's still pretty damn good. All right, so that's the localized CJ Mahomes connection. We'll get more into the matchup itself. Stoots has an O-line observation, Manana. Appreciate y'all for riding with us this morning and today. We're going to keep the content being pumped out. Full day tomorrow again. It's going to start a little bit earlier. It's going to be in the 11. Be on the lookout for the practice report, and be on the lookout for everything else, what the coaches have to say and what not. And always remember, whether Deshaun is balling or he's fallen, and whether Alex Smith is slinging or Patrick Mahomes is slinging and CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, all that, Chiefs, whatever, there's a blimp following J.J. Watt around dramatically after he gets hurt. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. Don't fake your injuries. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.